everybody, my name is Luna and welcome to Crit Role Conspiracies, a show where we talk about all the wild and wacky theories that critters have about Campaign 3 of Critical Role. We got so many juicy lore tidbits this week. It felt like a very special gift for the 7th anniversary of Critical Role. I thought I would get in on the floral attire for the evening. And hey, if you want somewhere to chat Critical Role between episodes, why not jump into my Discord? We have a whole section dedicated to discussing theories and ideas and sharing fan art. The link is in the description below if you'd like to join. This is your spoiler warning. This video contains spoilers for Campaign 3 as well as some spoilers for Campaign 1 and 2 and the Legends of Vox Machina, because it's all connected. We kick off this episode with another red dream with Imogen after she fell asleep cradling the mysterious purple stone that they found in the cavern of Slug Mummy last week. This time in the dream, she is actually holding the stone and she again hears her mother's voice telling her to run, but she kind of lingers for a moment. She sort of tries to decide whether it's something she wants to do before running off and then waking up. Imogen is very shaken by this, and Laura's acting in this scene was incredible. She really, I think, transported us there into that fear and terror that Imogen was feeling. Now, speaking of red dreams, there is some information from the new D&D adventure book, Call of the Netherdeep, which might give us some clues about Imogen's past and where her powers come from. But I actually want to do a full deep dive into the Red Moon Ruidus and all of the info in Call of the Netherdeep and how that ties to Imogen, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I will do that at some point, hopefully soon. A lot of you in the comments last week speculated that the purple stone could be a substance that is outlined in Call of the Netherdeep, but we found out that this is not the case after FCG casts Identify and discovers that it is a small shard of Gnarl Rock, which is this rock found deep within the Feywild that corrupts and twists anything nearby. There are apparently theories that it's been there the whole time, or it was created or grown. So it seems like Ira potentially took this shard of Gnarl Rock, brought it here to the material plane, and has been using it to corrupt and twist things. It could be that, you know, the Shade Mother was just a regular Shade Mother, whatever that is, but was not so twisted and corrupted in the way that we saw last week, because we've heard that the Shade Creepers are normally not acting the way we've seen the Shade Creepers in these episodes. Whilst discussing the origins of the Gnarl Rock, the party questions Fern a little bit more about her background and how she came to be here and when she left the Feywild. Fern is a little bit wishy-washy on the details, and I think this is partially a role-playing choice because that is kind of Fern's nature, and also traveling to and from the Feywild canonically is known to mess with people's sense of time and to mess with people's memories. And I also think it's partially Ashley forgetting some of the things that she wrote into her backstory. Hey, no shade, we've all been there. But Fern reveals that she left the Feywild looking for her parents. Her parents are called Bertie and Oleander, and they left the Feywild when she was quite young. She hasn't seen them in a very long time, but they would send her letters and postcards from all the different places that they had been on their travels. She says that the last postcard she received came from Aor. We have talked about Aor a bunch on this channel, but for those of you who didn't watch Campaign 2 and need a little bit of context, allow me. Aor is a pre-calamity city that was floating and held aloft by Broomstone. It was ruled by mages and was a powerful arcane society. They had highly advanced arcane magics and technology, and the city grew so powerful that it had the capability to take on gods. So, during the calamity, the prime deities and the betrayer gods teamed up to cast Aor down, where it's crashed in the land of Isilcross. It was presumed that none survived and was buried in the ice and the snow for centuries. Cut to Campaign 2. The Mighty Nine found Aor and spent some time there, and they witnessed this advanced magic and technology. There were things there that were sort of leagues beyond what they were capable of or what they had even heard of. While in Aor, they found a automaton called Devexian. Well, the party called him Charlie, and then they repaired him and he was like, actually, my name's Devexian. And he was an automaton in the way that FCG is, that is arguably alive, a living being. And he split ways with the party because he wanted to wake up all of his other Aormaton brethren. Now, Matt has confirmed 2 crit roll stats that FCG is an Aormaton. We still have a lot of questions about how FCG got to Marquette, but there is a little tie there to this old pre-calamity city. So the question is what were Fern's parents doing there? And when? If they were there prior to the downfall of Aor, they would need to be well over 800 years old. But given that Fern is over 100 years old, this is possible. And we know that time in the Feywild is weird and timey-wimey, and more time can pass on the material plane than passes in the Feywild. So they could have been out on the material plane for over 800 years, but it didn't feel like that long to Fern in the Feywild. Alternatively, they may have been there exploring the ruins, much like the Mighty Nine did, but then it feels weird to say that they sent a postcard. A postcard kind of implies that there is a destination that you can purchase said postcard from. It could have just been a matter of words, but I have a feeling that they were there before Aor fell. What do you think they were doing there? Let me know in the comments below. I'm so curious to know your theories. The party head to Gianna Hexam's house to kick off that heist quest that she had given to Ashton a few episodes earlier. There is this really cute moment where FCG lies to Hexam and tells her that Ashton is the one that designed and built them. This puts a pin in the theory that I posited last week that maybe FCG glitches when they lie. Clearly they're capable of lying. We also learn that FCG has never glitched out in this way before. This is something new. Upon returning to the Crook House, Milo examines FCG and determines that they have some kind of built up or pent up energy inside their body. Maybe this is related to the mysterious 2 points that Sam noted down a few episodes ago. This could be a physical manifestation of whatever those points are. Milo also makes an upgrade to FCG so that they can swap out their attachments as a free action, much in the same way that other D&D characters can swap weapons in their turn without using up an action. Imogen and Chetney head to some stables to rent some horses for their trip to the Heartmoor, and I really enjoyed this energy between Chetney and Imogen. It was very fun. I love how Imogen is just not really taking any of Chetney's nonsense and constantly rolling her eyes at him. And she also confronts him about the fact that he has a lot of money. I was really waiting for someone to bring this up because he has been so close-lipped about the fact that he just kept all of the money from the office that he robbed. Which I guess makes sense. He doesn't really know the party at all, but you know, we're so used to seeing party members like share treasure that they find. I don't know, maybe that's just my games. Imogen also asks Chetney about the tattoo he has that says RTA, and he says that it stands for Respect the Alpha. I loved how Matt countered this by explaining that the idea that wolves have an alpha has been like debunked and is a really like outdated way of looking at things. Later on though, when Orym and Chetney are chatting about tattoos, I kind of got the feeling that Chetney was going to give an alternative meaning for the tattoo, but Orym kind of changed the subject and moved on from it. I don't know, was that just me? Did some of you pick up on that as well? Respect the Alpha could just be a way of trolling Imogen / Laura / all of us at home, and RTA could stand for something else and have a deeper meaning. Chetney also reveals that the tattoo is fairly new, that he got it after he first started transforming into a werewolf, which only happened a few months ago. Have you just come to the realization that you have to wait a whole week for the next episode of Critical Role? Then why not try listening to Flump Friends, the podcast where I talk about all things D&D and tabletop RPGs. This week's episode covers the latest D&D news, like the confirmation of a new 5th edition Dragonlance book. I also examine how to handle character death in Dungeons & Dragons and take a deep dive into the slimy, oozy Oblex. You can listen by signing up to my Patreon or by pressing the join button underneath this video. Now, back to the conspiracies.
I'm right. So.
Yeah, you're having a great time. It's the best podcast
Are
you've ever
you
listened to.
recording?
Yeah, I am. Okay, I've jumped around a little bit. Let's get back to the party. So once they get the horses, they all meet up and they start heading outside of the city, much to Imogen's relief, because in the city, she's constantly overwhelmed by voices inside her mind. When they're out in the country, there's nobody around and she can just kind of let her guard down and relax. While they're traveling, Orym spots a rabbit with a horn, which I'm pretty sure is an almiraj, this creature here, and it's holding in its mouth a pink stone. Orym manages to chase the almiraj down and get the stone, and FCG identifies it as a Feywild shard. This is a magical item which can add some wild magic to a sorcerer, so Imogen takes it and she puts it in her hair. Yet another Feywild relic. And as if one magic item wasn't enough, the party also finds a blue chromatic rose, which is a magic item that gives you resistance to lightning damage and also lets you do like a big cone attack or cone blast of lightning damage as well. That particular item is from Wild Beyond the Witchlight, which is the Feywild D&D adventure that came out recently. So many Feywild links. While the party is resting during their travels, we get some deep conversations, which is when we get so much of this juicy lore exposed. Ashton and Fern have a conversation about the nature of Ashton's body. She asks him if it's hard everywhere, and he responds that yes, as far as he's aware it is, but that this is not the way his body has always been, that when they were younger, about 10 or 11, they used to have a soft body, and they have made some kind of transformation that has turned them into this Earth Genasi, to this rock creature. Now, my D&D knowledge is not like super wide, but I've never heard of this kind of a thing happening, like through a disease or through a potion or something. Do you have any ideas about what might have caused this? Get in the comments. Jumping back to that conversation with Orym and Chetney, Chetney asks about Orym's tattoos and what they signify, and Orym explains that they are to remind him of his husband, Will. Will died in the attack on the Ereshari about 6 years ago, and he was half elven, so they were Big Moon and Little Moon. This isn't confirmed, but it seems very likely that Will is connected to another one of Liam's characters. So Liam played a character in Dalen's Closet, which was a one-shot where he played a half-elven fighter called Derrig. Derrig had a family, including a son called Will. Dalen's Closet happened about 30 years prior to Campaign 3, so the timelines seem like they would definitely work. Honestly, I was waiting for the moment where Liam would make me cry, and I guess it was today because I cried. And finally, in my opinion, the biggest reveal of the episode, Laudna is one of the bodies that was hanging from the sun tree. I applaud all of you who called it. People were calling that in the very first episode of Crit Role Conspiracies. I was a skeptic this whole time. I've sort of been saying, oh, I don't think the timelines match up. I don't think it makes sense with what Laudna said. I was wrong. You were right. Kudos to you. What a big, huge reveal, and also a devastating reveal. So I want to give some context for people who maybe haven't watched Campaign 1 or The Legends of Vox Machina, because this was a really big moment in both of those pieces. So Vox Machina arrives to Whitestone. They've come to Whitestone to try and overthrow the big bad guys, the Briarwoods. When they arrive to Whitestone, they come to the Sun Tree, which is this giant tree in the middle of the city. It's normally beautiful and magical and lush, but it is dreary and dying, and it doesn't have any leaves, and they see several bodies hanging from the sun tree. Now, these bodies have been dressed, and also in some cases, and obviously in Laudna's case, mutilated to look like the members of Vox Machina, as kind of a show of strength or a warning from the Briarwoods. It was a truly horrifying moment where I think the party were so shocked that something like this had happened, and it is portrayed so viscerally in Legend of Vox Machina. It's such an awful scene. We get to see a little bit of the off-screen stuff that happened in Campaign 1 in the animated series, where the family actually come to the Briarwoods and we see the people who are hung from the tree. So I think that this person is Laudna, just based on the hair. So the question is, was Laudna representing Vex or Keyleth? Because they were both half-elves. I think based on this image, it's probably Vex, just given Laudna's dark hair, if we assume that this is Laudna. Oh, what a truly horrible moment. And I think the role-playing and the acting between Liam and Marisha during that revelation was just phenomenal. It was a really sad and beautiful moment. The episode finishes up with Fern being led by a fairy-type creature into the jaws of a living jungle monster creature. This is just proof that you can never trust fairies, no matter how adorable they are.
How could you?
I actually wonder if in some way this creature was inspired by the Oblex, because I did a breakdown of that creature in this week's episode of Flump Friends, and there were just like a lot of similarities. But I'm really looking forward to a big fight next week. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and share it with your friends. And until next time, respect the alpha.